Birmingham, like other cities, is battling to deal with the fallout of the pandemic. But the future of some programmes that help its most vulnerable residents is in doubt.
It started about 12 years ago. I was playing football once and I couldn't spot the ball.
Commel's sight loss led to him leaving his job at a law firm in 2016.
I spent the last 3.5 years just trying to get used to living with sight loss and the issues that I faced with regards to that.
With the help of Birmingham's Pure Project, Commel last year got a new role at an insurance company.
They identified the issues I had, they understood what sort of skill sets I had and how best to use it and how best to try and help me, support me trying to apply for jobs. But I just needed that support to try and get me in through that door, really.
That project was mainly funded not by Westminster, not by the local council, but by the EU. It's one of hundreds of projects funded from the European Structural and Investment Funds, which funnel money to a huge range of issues, including regional development, energy efficiency, small business support, jobs and training. This was a problem that was meant to have been fixed. In 2017, the government said a UK shared prosperity fund would replace EU money and focus on inequality and sustainable growth. The following year, it promised a consultation on the new fund. That has yet to happen. And with only 6 weeks to go until the end of transition, it's not clear how this fund will operate, when it will begin, or what money there is in the meantime. Newsnight has obtained this letter to the government from the University Alliance, signed by the CBI and nearly 70 universities, businesses and councils. It highlights the urgent need for clarity and a concerning lack of communication and further details on the operation of the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. It concludes, "We are deeply concerned that we run the risk of a gap in regional innovation programmes." Some projects' EU funding will last until 2023, but Birmingham's unemployment work faces a cash crunch well before that.
It usually takes up to a year in between a fund being announced through to something actually being available on the ground. There is interim funding to tide some of these projects over, but the government's just not releasing it. We bid over a year ago to the government to release funds to extend some of our projects until the Shared Prosperity Fund comes online. We still haven't heard back from them. We've got projects that have ended already. We've got projects that are due to end next month. We've got no idea how they're going to be replaced going forward and how we're going to help those people that rely on them.
The UK has been getting an average of about £2 billion a year in structural funds. The bulk of that goes to England, but the EU allocates more money to less economically developed areas. So look at where money from the two biggest funds goes on a per-person basis. Wales receives well above the UK average, along with the North East, Northern Ireland and the South West. The East of England and South East get well below the average. What will take the place of this EU money is all the more important for a government committed to reducing inequalities between regions.
Well, at Teesside University, we've leveraged over £50 million of EU structural funds over the last 6 years. That's directly supported over 1,000 SMEs, supporting jobs, regional businesses in the Tees Valley. We're in real danger of this just dropping off a cliff, and it's local communities, local people, local towns and projects that are going to be significantly hit, arguably the places that absolutely need this funding right now.
Well, there's just a month to go until the Brexit transition period ends. But a group of cross-party MPs says barely any progress has been made when it comes to deciding how to replace EU cash. Well, let's head over now to our Westminster correspondent, Ione Wells. And Ione, what is this funding for and why are MPs worried about it?
At the moment, Wales, along with other nations in the EU, receives funding for things like infrastructure, charities, businesses and training and skills programmes. And essentially, poorer regions receive more funding per head. So Wales, between 2014 and 2020, actually received 5 times more of this funding per person than England. Now, UK ministers have pledged to replace this funding when the Brexit transition period ends at the end of this year. But these MPs are worried that with 3 months to go, we don't yet know what this fund will be and how it will work in practice. And this cross-party committee of MPs, along with a number of senior Labour politicians, are also worried about the possible impact on devolution, because we don't know yet whether this fund will be controlled by the Welsh Government or the UK Government, and some are questioning whether the fund will still be allocated to areas of greatest need.
As we take the programme and the money out of Brussels and it is channelled through Westminster, at some point along the way, the Westminster government will start to get its hands on it and start using it for purposes that it's not really supposed to be used for.
And what have UK government ministers said about this?
The UK government have said that at the very minimum they will match EU funds for each nation. They also say that they are working in coordination with the Welsh Government to develop the fund, and they say that details of it should be released before EU funding starts to get scaled back. Now, UK government sources for the last couple of months have been telling me that we should get more detail of this fund by the autumn, but judging by the weather tonight, we are already in autumn. And the main concern for MPs and some of the key stakeholders who are at the coalface of delivering some of the programmes that rely on this funding is that these programmes take time, sometimes years, to develop, and the deadline for the detail of this funding that they need to plan ahead is just months away.
So, levelling up is not a jam-spreading operation. It's not robbing Peter to pay Paul, it's not zero-sum, it's win-win for the whole United Kingdom. And so this is the plan, and I will believe that we've made progress on levelling up when we've begun to raise living standards, spread opportunity, improved our public services and restored people's sense of pride in their community across the whole of the UK.
Levelling up. It's the election promise that has echoed through the left behind areas of the UK, and yesterday the Chancellor finally coughed up.
I'm launching the first round of the Levelling Up Fund today, inviting applications from local areas across the United Kingdom.
But less than 24 hours later, the Prime Minister was forced to sail to his rescue after allegations that the cash is being spent disproportionately in Conservative areas. This is Richmond in North Yorkshire, a market town and a tourist hotspot, and especially when you compare it to other places around here, it's far from deprived. And yet yesterday it was ranked priority one, top of the list, to get access to a £4.8 billion levelling up fund. That was announced in the budget by the Chancellor, who is also the MP for Richmond. On the government's own scale of deprivation, with one as the most deprived, Richmond is 450 out of 533. 80 miles south in Sheffield, there are some areas that go as low as 12 on that scale, and yet they've been classified as priority 2 for the Levelling Up Fund. The Sheffield City Region Mayor wants to know why.
It's nakedly political. We urgently need some transparency from the Chancellor about the decision-making process. I don't think by any independent, fair metric that can be the right approach, and I want the Chancellor to clarify as a matter of urgency.
And it isn't just the Levelling Up Fund that is under fire. More cash from the Towns Fund was dished out yesterday to mostly Tory areas. Rishi Sunak used his budget to confirm extra spending in a string of towns across England. He said the funds were to rebalance economic investment. He's giving more than £1 billion to 45 towns. But of the 56 constituencies which will benefit from these grants, 47 are Conservative, only 9 are Labour.
How can they think that we think they're serious about levelling up when in the same week the Father of the House said how desperately difficult it is for MPs to get by on an £82,000 salary? When you're an Eton-farmed elitist who thinks nothing of spaffing £40 on a glass of wine, a £20 a week uplift payment on your universal credit, it probably doesn't even register to you that that is even actual money. I mean, Boris Johnson was part of the Bullingdon Club, for fuck's sake, where it was standard practice to burn £50 notes in front of homeless people for a laugh. We have a cost of living crisis, energy price hikes, a national insurance hike, a likely council tax hike in the near future, all of which are most keenly felt by those on lower incomes. Just saying the words levelling up, it doesn't actually do anything. And this week we learned that levelling up, whatever that actually fucking means, is likely to take roughly a decade, which coincidentally is the same amount of time the Tories have been in power. The whole conference was just one huge pile of bullshit, and yet they all came out smelling of Veuve Clicquot. How can that be? Simple answer, look at the Labour Party conference. Where was the passion? Where was the anger? Where was the anger at the long list of misdemeanours these privileged ghouls have subjected this country to for the last 10 years? Where was the sense of whatever our difference is on particular issues, together we can destroy these posh, privileged bastards and turn this nation around? Where was the passion? Instead, the Labour Party conference was dogged by whether it's possible for a man to have a cervix. Okay, sure, let's have a chat about that. But 30% of children in this country live in relative poverty. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting much, much poorer as a direct result of these Tory bastards not giving a fuck. Let's be in no doubt, these fuckers will continue to get away with this for as long as Labour continue to let them get away with it.